NVM inside of the project so that as you're developing, you can change the version that you are utilizing through Node. I know a lot of us are familiar with NVM, so that's exciting. And then we've got some updates from Pythonistical. First time I've said that out loud. Excited about these two. We've got some UI updates coming to that landing page and some more examples to show how to utilize these things in your own projects. And I believe that these examples will really help us build these larger project ideas that live on the open source top level repo. So I'm pretty excited about them, and I think it'll really help enable all of us to build a little bit quicker. I just want to pause again really quickly just to see if anyone has any questions. Everyone doing good so far? Okay. Sounds good. Hey, Mason's here. Hello. Awesome. All right, well, we'll keep going. I'm just kind of running through things, so please stop me if you need to. I just want to make sure that I get all this information out to you guys, and later today we'll have some more casual coding time if anyone would like to join that as well too. All right, so let's go back up here to our open source. Okay. Some other things I just wanted to highlight here. And some cool functionality that is coming inside of our SDKs. Mark and I actually started talking about this at the end of the week last week. But inside of these other work in progress packages that are coming out soon, you can actually go into them and get some examples of how these endpoints function, but directly inside of the repo. So like, let's say, for instance, you were looking for something around our conversations, which is our Copilot. So you could come into here and find our Conversations API, or our Conversation API, pardon me. There's actually two, but I actually want to show you Conversations, sorry. So this is examples on how you would create these things inside of Dart to be able to like create a conversation from an asset using its ID, as you can see here, and being able to get back that created conversation ID and use that to propagate questions to our Copilot and get information back about a specific asset in your code, right? So this same functionality you can see inside of Pieces for Developers. And you'll see a little later when we start building some examples inside of the example project, I'll show how to translate some of this into TypeScript and kind of make it make sense around the activities, and that can be applied to these other endpoints. So I just wanted to highlight that this is here so that anyone that wants to get a head start on consuming the Dart API or a head start on consuming the Kotlin API, these docs are included. And then the full documentation that's going to come out on Stoplight should be hitting around Monday or Tuesday of this coming week. So that gap in knowledge won't be there for much longer. We just wanted to make sure that it was cleaned up and good to go before we shared it out with everyone. So just know that this is here for now, and we'll have better solutions in the future. So going back, too far back. We're going to head back to the open source repo here. All right, I'm not going back anymore. I'm typing it. All right. And down here too, I just wanted to also mention briefly this Kotlin SDK that's coming soon. And the really cool part about this is that this Kotlin SDK is something that hopefully is going to help us get closer to our first open sourced plugin, which is really cool. So we're exploring all of our plugins currently and trying to evaluate what's the best opportunity for us to open source one of them. So know that that's coming soon, and we're going to have some new projects for people to work on and contributing to our actual products inside of JetBrains or potentially inside of Obsidian. A few things have been discussed, so we'll have more updates on those things really soon. Okay, so just moving forward, I wanted to briefly show some of the Stoplight documentation that's going to be coming. I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that this isn't being written from scratch. As you saw with some of the other documentation, we're nearly there. We just want to make sure that we get it right before we share this out. So you'll see this here. We've got all of the documentation very similar to the way that you would see it inside of the docs that I previously showed. But since due to the open API spec, you're actually able to get a lot of samples directly from inside of here using like the request samples essentially. So it's helpful for new explorations in other languages that you would like to potentially create packages for, but we can get to that at a later date. So I'll just show you something that we're actually going to use later, which is going to be activities. So I'm going to go down here to activities, and we're just going to go to our full activity snapshot. So in the future, you'll be able to come here and get this, but I just want to give a brief demo of it for when it is out on how to use this in a really easy way. So activities is great because it's just a full snapshot of all the activities that have taken place. So you can basically come in and just use this endpoint to pull a full snapshot of your activities. And what activities are all the events that take place when you use Pieces OS, essentially, when you save, when you reference, when you look at different things. So let me show you just a little bit of what that looks like inside of Pieces for Developers here. You'll have to excuse my Copilot chat. So over here, you'll see that in my list view, which some of you are familiar with, we've got all of my assets, and I come in here and I look at this asset and look at this asset, and I'm like, oh, wait, I want this add dialog widget. So I want this guy. I love it. But I'm not sure, and then I switch over here. So throughout my day, I may do this 5 or 6 times, switching between different snippets that I want, don't want, not really sure about. But what we do is we take all that and we put it into these different events and connect those events to each other and to other pieces of data that are connected to your snippets, such as your usage, the amount of times that you've copy and pasted that snippet, all of the data around how you use them stored locally just for you. So with that functionality, you can see the opportunities for referencing a specific asset or a material type and being able to track those references to weight something more, right? So like, let's say I use the same snippet every day. Well, it's going to be here a lot more often in my workflow activity, which means that it's a snippet that I use a lot. Just like some of these over here that are my top materials. A great new section inside of the workflow activity to help you utilize your snippets better. And so you can take the same functionality and apply it to a number of other locations to help with weighting things that are more valuable for you inside of your application usage, if that makes sense. So that's a little bit around activities, and I'm actually going to show you how to hit this endpoint and the data that's going to come back here in just a minute. I'm going to hop back over to the stage. I just want to see if anyone is asking any questions. Savo's got some. Oh, awesome. Yeah, all the MD docs are fully generated, but they're getting that love, and we're going through all of them right now. We've got tons of notes on them, and we're going to get them out there and nail them for you guys. And yeah, also, yeah, the timeline data is great too as well, Savo. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, anyone have any questions or anything so far? I'm just going to stop briefly for a second and just kind of say hello. I've kind of just been talking for a little bit here. But yeah, I know Sophia is here. Sophia, do you want to share a link to your video? If you have a link, can you put that in the chat for us? I just wanted to briefly highlight the video that Sophia made. So Sophia has been working with a couple of designers, which we don't need a million designers, right, inside of a dev environment. But there are times when we don't know how to lay things out. We may be able to write the right code, but we're not sure. And Sophia has actually created a video that shows people how they can get started to contribute mockups. So you can see this inside of the example TS project. Sorry, I'm just going to do this. So you can see that here inside of the mockups. So there's actually a contribution design file, but you can upload mockups to here. And she just walks through a whole video on getting started with the repo as a whole, and then also adding those design assets for specific layout specs like this one here, this issue that Malachi Dev is working on. And then also for here that Python isticle had actually completed, which is an update to the way this layout is here that we're going to review and go over and see how we can get implemented over the coming weeks, which is really exciting. And I just want to shout out Python isticle for all their work so far. on the example TS project. Okay. One other thing too that I really wanted to kind of shout out here is as time goes forward, we really want to encourage a lot of efforts around our clients themselves, right? And trying to figure out not only how can we build on an example project, but how can we take the things that we're learning from that example project and apply them to smaller plugins or projects in applications that each of us uses? Because there's a lot more power in being able to build something that you can utilize in your daily workflow for yourself and that maybe other people inside of the open source community can utilize. There's some really simple applications of that, and you're going to start to see a lot more issues pop up around plugins or small GitHub repos that we can spin up off and base them off of the example repo, but have jump points. Like we'll start with a Copilot example and we'll take the example project and you can run with the Copilot and build an app in your browser just like the one that we'll show later today. There's lots of different applications like that. So I just want to encourage people to find new applications and not necessarily just take what's in the example project as a literal usage of the endpoint and find new creative ways to use those endpoints to develop new interesting tech. So that could be really cool. So I just wanted to highlight that really quick. And as we continue forward, you'll start to see that take place. So let's hop back in over here. I wanted to see if there was anything that anyone wanted to share about their open source journey so far, or if anyone wanted to talk about some of the things that they've experienced in open source. I don't know if Eli is here, or if anyone that's contributed to the repo is here, but if you wanted to talk a little bit about your experience doing so, that could be really cool. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for just a second. Okay. But if not, we can continue on and we'll start looking at a couple examples here, and kind of playing around with a live demo, which I'm clearly nervous about. Oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome, Sabo. You want to hop in here and you want to share some of that?
Sweet. All right, we're back again. Thanks, Jordan, for the kind of like, rundown of how we're organizing the projects and starting to, basically centralize all the links and all the repos and everything like that. And thanks to the community as well for bearing with us as we get our, our naming conventions good to go. And, we're figuring out, all right, what does the client look like for the OS server? What does the client look like for the cloud server? All of that stuff. And Jordan showed a couple of elements within the desktop app that really are kind of just representative of the underlying data structures. But Pieces is really great at understanding what you've saved and enriching it, and that's really focused on the what. But also, too, Jordan showed a really powerful data layer called the timeline, the workflow activity, which is focused on the when. And when you combine the what and the when, and you kind of capture how a user is interacting with materials, then you can get some really crazy experiences around, hey, this is the right thing at the right time, right, with some weighting and stuff like that. But all that said, Jordan mentioned we have some upcoming SDKs around Python, Kotlin, and I know probably the Dart stuff. Flutter was talking about. And our strategy for that is going to be open sourcing some of our internal plugins incrementally. So I know we have our IntelliJ plugin. It's got some really crazy features. And the benefit there is not just understanding like how to use the SDK, but it's also how to build a world-class plugin for the IntelliJ, product lineup, right? Similarly, for the Flutter stuff and the web extensions, using Flutter to build a web extension across, Chrome or Safari or whatever else is actually pretty nice, right? Our desktop app is Flutter. Flutter has great web support and things like that. So when we open source some of this, Chrome extension stuff, it's again not just about how to use the Dart SDK to integrate with Pieces OS, but it's also a creative way to build, A+ web extensions with Flutter. So we're pretty excited about not only like the SDKs in and of themselves, y'all being able to contribute and thoughtfully consider what to add to Pieces or what we should change, but also too, just, there's a lot of great code, a lot of great implementation across our, products and integrations that will also be shared with the community beyond just the APIs and the endpoints and the SDKs themselves. So Jordan's going to be getting with the product leaders and helping out on all that front. But that's pretty exciting, and I know a lot of folks are looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As am I, and as I hope everyone in the community is, because it's been an amazing experience so far, and I'm just excited to see what all we can accomplish as this large group of developers, all just kind of working together on these great ideas that we have. It's going to be a really cool thing.
And I will add, we have a sponsored, if anyone is looking to do a project, where they're considering, hey, I'd like to build this type of functionality or whatever, we will start to do some sponsored projects. You kind of get them started, you put together an MVP, a proposal, some of that stuff. And then we will look to, sponsor projects that are really interesting. One of those will be a new upcoming CLI project that the team has been, kind of working with, the end kind of indie developer. And that'll be a sponsored project in Python that, Jordan will start to get into more details on probably in a couple weeks or two. But that'll be a whole end-to-end Python project built in public, sponsored by the team. Jordan will be kind of liaisoning that between the open source community, the main project developers, and things like that. Great opportunity for y'all to follow along and just watch how that thing gets built, right? Commit to commit, release to release. But yeah, and at the end we'll have a Pieces Python CLI, which would be pretty sick.
It'd be really cool. It'd be really cool. And to touch on that too, there is on the open source repo, if there are projects that you guys are working on that you need contributions on, or there are other projects that you're passionate about in the open source community, share them on the project or the contribution ideas section inside of those discussions, because we want to promote a place for people to share the other things going on in the open source world. So that way we can see how not only we can help contribute to our projects and things that you guys are working on, but to other projects that are going on out there in the community, and to help support that community and its growth.
That's right. We'll have some of the Pieces team members starting to contribute to other people's stuff as well. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be a very interesting open source collaboration. It'll be great.
Yeah, we will eventually get to the point where a lot is, open source, but it's just so much to like pry out of like internal, processes and like decouple from, a lot of the stuff. So we're working on it, but coming along. Yeah, and future proof it, right? To make it more scalable and things. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, Jordan. I know you're going to get into some of the coding examples and stuff, but it's of course about building things from scratch, but we're also really working hard to open source things that are already built, so people can contribute to them, learn more about not just using the SDK, but also building an integration, building in this language, whatever else. It'll be pretty solid. So
yeah, absolutely.
So, keep it rolling, Jordan. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on, Saba. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Cool. So we're gonna hop back in. We're gonna go through just a couple more things, and then I'm gonna open it up for really any questions or any last minute introductions, and then just with some last minute announcements for some things that are gonna be coming at the beginning of the week, just to make sure those get hit on. Cool. So let's get into, I'm gonna share my screen again. Make sure that this is good to go. Okay. Awesome. All right. Here's my screen. And we're live. Okay. So I'm jumping right into the example TS project. Some of this may look familiar, but I just wanted to use it as a really clean environment to kind of show you just a quick example of how these endpoints can easily be assembled without really needing a lot of documentation for something like the activities kind of stream of all activities events that comes in. And there are lots of endpoints like this that have this same kind of functionality. And so I'd be interested to see how, just with some really just raw testing, some of the interesting things that you guys could find about these endpoints, and by being able to hover and click through into some of these lower level structures and schemas, being able to understand kind of what's going on. So you can see here, this is the example project. So it's currently running. Down here you can see you've got no issues found, and we'll open that up right here in the Chrome environment. Oh, that's cheating. You didn't see that. So here it is. I just first wanted to shout out the updates from Eli Prater. So these are his updates. I know initially when we had this was just a flat list. Now this actually tracks your active selections. and pre-pens that to any of the actions that are taking place down here below, so that you no longer have to copy and paste your ID or any information about the snippet. It just tracks you're currently selected. You can take this. I hope I'm not deleting a snippet I really need, and I can delete that snippet just by hitting that button. I believe delete confirmed. You'll see that here. Thanks, Eli, for the great console log. We'll refresh that, and she's gone, just like that. So great update. Huge shout out to Eli, and it just goes to show with 50 lines of code or 100 lines of code, you can come in and make a great update to help other people come in and learn behind you on how to use these APIs and endpoints. So just really awesome there. Really appreciate that. So first, just to show you guys a little bit of this functionality, we're basically going to just create a new function here that's called activities. All right, we're going to call it get activities. Okay. Just going to go ahead and we'll create a new pieces. And then we're going to go ahead and right here get into that activities API. And so you'll see some of that similar structure with this pieces.activities API or this pieces.assets API. And a lot of these follow that similar structure. And so you'll be able to just call that and then get into that activity snapshot, which again, you'll see the similarities between this here and this activity snapshot. And a lot of these snapshots will function in a very similar way, but may require different request parameters when coming over. But here you can just pass in empty, and then we'll do a dot then. We're going to get back our entire activity snapshot. Just store that in something private here. It's not snapshot. Cool. Then we're going to take that snapshot, and just to show you the breadth of activities that are taking place, I'm just going to log the entire snapshot that comes back. Mark and anyone at Pieces, I'm sorry for showing all of the activity events that are taking place in such a mass quantity. I could just log one, but I think that we got to show them all the work that's taking place with how you can wait and show the things that you can do with your assets. It's really incredible. So I'm just going to console log here, and we're just going to go ahead and print out that snapshot. Okay, and that's great, but we have no way to functionally see that activity snapshot. So in order to get that, we're going to need a button. So I'm just going to go down here and grab this refresh button, and just a note, and I'll leave a little note here for other people. Oh, is this not how you do comments here? Oh, I don't like that comment structure. Okay, just as a note, you can take this button right here and you can just do this if you want to test something really quickly. So on that on click, we'll take our get activities, and we'll obviously name this better because why not? Cool. Boom, refresh that. We've got our new button here. And so essentially what this is going to do is go in and get all of my activity events with all my assets on my asset snapshot and show me those activities in the same way that you would see on something like the workflow activity inside of Pieces for Developers, but obviously in the logs. So we're just going to click get activities, see it populate right here, and look at that. So this is how much I'm using Pieces too much. I think that's what this means. So this is all of my references and the amount of times that I've made calls and things like that. So we're just going to break one down, and we're going to pull out just one of these because obviously that's unconsumable. So let's go back, and we are going to, there we go. So off of that snapshot, we're going to just go ahead and take, let's take, we don't want to print each one out. I'm just going to get the first on that. Let's see. So we'll just get that asset here, or we'll call it activity. And all we're going to need on that snapshot that we're going to get back is that fully iterable list. So we're just going to take that snapshot. And iterable, you'll see here, is that actual iterable array. So we'll grab that, and we're just going to get our first entry. Then we'll log that here. to the console. Just so we can see what an individual activity looks like. So now, give this a little refresh. Make sure we're good to go. Got our connection status up. Let the assets load in. Okay. Then we're going to get activities. So in this first example, you're going to see, one, how much quicker that came in. And two, this is a lot of just the activity data around the first asset, right? So if we were looking at the activity data for the selected asset, we'd want to switch this up. Oh, I apologize. Did it actually? Hold on, I just want to make sure that that's correct. Okay. Awesome. So again, as you saw in the first presentation when we talked about things with the different events that take place, we nest a lot of data inside of these functions that come back. So here you can see that it's got a reference to its initial asset, when it was created, all of this data inside here, the tags and things that live on it, which is really great so that you always have that constant reference of kind of like where your assets are coming from, which is great. So if we wanted this to be on the selected asset here, we can make a simple update just to do, we have a variable that is selected asset. So we'll just take the iterable, we'll replace this with selected asset, selected index, I apologize. And then that will now print out the actual selected here. So just refresh this. Sorry, I hit the wrong refresh. Reconnected, good to go. And then we will select an asset and get that asset and the events that are on it that are nested right here. So you can see this event. And these different events inside of here will be populated in a little bit of a different way. I think I might have done something wrong here. But regardless, this is how you get that activity data for each of your assets that have the relevant IDs and things to connect that activity data back to the actual asset, which will get you data. Just to save time here, I'm going to show you guys. We'll get you this data here, this reference and rename data. I am not sure where it's living in here. I don't know if someone in the chat can give me a little help. The assets ID, right? Yeah. And we've talked about this before, using that asset ID as the most crucial part of referencing your assets as you move from location to location, right? So that asset ID is your main tracking point for, like, when you make an activity, that activity has an ID on it that is referenced in its initial asset, so that you can connect those things together and you can still have the ID of the asset stored inside of that activity that comes back. So that way you can reference the original asset, similar to what Mark is saying. Yeah. And we will share, and so yeah, on the next, has pro tips on this in the desktop app. Yeah, and so that is the next update that's going to be coming over this weekend, is I'm gonna spend some time today and tomorrow expanding on more of these examples. So in the same way that we don't have the documentation fully out yet, I want to create more easy to use examples with these snapshots and these and with the Copilot chat as well, so that you guys can have some easy jumping off points. And start to actually develop on top of this. I know there's been a lack in documentation, so I want to try and handle that this weekend with and get you guys really up and running with some of these things. So that's where I'm going to stop that demo for right now, just because I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole where I don't have some things laid out. But I want to just show the ease of use with getting into the first steps of each of these endpoints and being able to get data back when you're looking at a reference. Yeah, we could do a YouTube tutorial as well, which would be awesome. And so that's one other thing I wanted to mention. Chevet is actually planning on doing a small tutorial as well too on using some of these endpoints from his perspective that we're going to try and get together and share it out to talk about some of these specific examples. So we're going to work on that as well, and hopefully that'll provide some more context on how to use these things well. So yeah, so I kind of want to just take a pause there. We've made it through a lot. It's been about 45 minutes. I've been talking a lot. We heard from Savo. We heard from a couple other people as well, from Mark. And I just wanted to kind of open it up for a second, see if anyone had any questions. If anyone has any project that they're working on right now that they like to talk about, or just really anything that they like to bring up, now would be a great time. So we'll just take a couple minutes and do that, and then we can wrap things up if people don't have any questions or anything right now. Oh, hey, Mark. Oh, let me stop sharing my screen.
Oh, hey, sorry, I didn't know I could just jump on the stage there.
Oh, you can
There
just
I
jump
am.
right
Hey.
in.
Hey again, everyone. I wanted to just kind of jump on and maybe not share exactly like the project I'm working on next or what we're working on in pieces, but kind of also just give an idea of some of the next couple functionality that we're looking for with 7.1.0, all of which is going to be really big. Um, but yeah, so really excited around some of our V1, like kind of like bring your own model support, starting with like very simply being able to bring your OpenAI access token, which will be really solid, enabling you as a developer to enable your users to be able to bring in their access token where they may have their own custom fine-tuned models or any sort of early access to models that no one else has. And also to just what Sabo said there as well, also some V1 enterprise support.
Mm.
So for instance, if you have your own like enterprise OpenAI key, so you can tap into any one of those models and so on. Um, which is really really quite valuable, as well as a bunch of really like nice to haves and cleanup with regard to some of the naming conventions, as well as also to what Jordan mentioned with regard to additional documentation.
Mm.
So doing that full review over the documentation, upgrading descriptions, and also too like if you're taking a look at some of the like the TypeScript SDK or any of the other open source SDKs that are like next up to come, and some of the descriptions aren't fitting exactly what's going on, we'd love to collaborate with that, upgrade it in our stuff, and then immediately give that back to you. So that flow where you scratch our back, we'll scratch your back as well too. If you're having issues with the SDK or anything going on with regard to Pieces OS where an endpoint isn't quite functioning the way that it should be or that you think it should be, please like reach out to us and give us some of your feedback because we're always open. We're here to help out and we're here to listen and collaborate and just make the best product possible.
Yeah, and along with that, in the short term, if you do have questions about a specific endpoint or you're wondering what you should use to create something and the documentation is not out there, feel free to reach out to us directly. We would be more than happy to walk through a brief, like, here, use this endpoint and this is what it does. I can put those together quickly and work with Mark to craft something so that you guys can use the endpoints you want right now until the stoplight documentation is fully out. We just want to do what we can to help support you guys.
100%. And also too, along that same vein, like, hey, for instance, like we've got a lot of like known problems already solved internally. So for instance, what's the best way to retrieve all of my assets is a great question that we're still working on the documentation for. But for instance, if you reached out to Jordan or the open source community, we could either one link you up with someone internally or two give you just a rough description of an awesome algorithm that you could use to speed that stuff up or anything, workflow activity conversations XYZ, because a lot of those things are known and solved problems internally that we'd love to help out with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining the stage, Mark.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. Does anyone else have anything? Anyone want to jump up on the stage and just say hello? Got a couple more minutes here and then we'll go ahead and call it for the day. and I'll just finish off with a couple announcements for the next couple days. Oh, hey, Sophia. Oh, we're connecting. It's okay. It just seems to take a second the first time someone joins. I'm not sure why.
Hi guys, Sophia here. Can everyone hear me though?
Yeah, it's coming through.
All right. I just want to say hi to the community and just thank the people that have been contributing so far. Thank you very much, and I really can't wait for the upcoming SDKs.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that don't know, Sophia is like kind of heading up, along with Mason and some others, most of the community here in Discord and a lot of the open source work that's going on. You'll see a lot of messages coming from her and a lot of things coming from her direction on some of these SDKs, on the video that she created to help designers with getting started, to help people with getting started in the repo, all kinds of great stuff. Sophia's been a huge help and just been a lifesaver in Discord for me and for everyone on the team. So I just want to say thank you to you, Sophia, for helping cultivate all these contributors and just keeping the program starting off strong. It's been great having you here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks. Oh, I think Mason wants to say hello too. Mason, you want to hop up here?
Hey everybody. I don't know. Let me get my camera going here. All right, awesome. Sweet. What's up, guys? Probably see me around Discord or on our communities. But yeah, I think this is awesome. I think we'll see over the next few months this community really growing exponentially. We've already seen, the majority of the users in this Discord who are active kind of switch over to this open source community, and I think it'll be the main driver around the Pieces just user community and kind of driving even our internal products as well. But I did want to hit on, I don't know if we wanted to hit these, but like the project ideas that we had.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just like put up a few of those, and we can kind of maybe not like, obviously they're not kind of fleshed out yet, but these are kind of ideas just to get people thinking about, yes, we have all of these endpoints that we can access, but rather than, we have our kind of basic CRUD operations that we have in the example app, but kind of taking that to the a left turn, if you will, and creating a product out of it. And so maybe it's a dashboard for your activities, so you can kind of see it, just like GitHub has, right? When you go to your GitHub profile, you kind of have that activity kind of graph. Maybe you could build something exactly like that using Pieces. And so I don't know if we do have that list.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we have those up there, and
Okay.
I want to share them, but I want people to go on Discord, and I want to have those conversations where we can all reference them asynchronously. And I think that's a big part of this too, is to there's a lot of people in the community that are kind of all over the globe. And so I want to make sure that we're doing a lot of things in places that can be accessed by everyone as those conversations evolve over time, and having those conversations on discussions where people can upvote the projects that they're liking or interested in is a great way to do that. So what I will do though is I will grab this link and let's get this shared in here, and we'll make sure this is pinned to the open source chat. And that way that people can always find this link. It's super easy to get to, but this is where we want to try and have those main conversations is inside of these channels, and also where you can share those contribution projects too. But the great thoughts there, Mason, and I'm really glad that you brought those back up because there are more ideas that are currently living on this discussion board right now. So some of those, just to kind of talk about them really quick,
Sure.
are I'll share my screen as well too. Okay. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, awesome. So like that first one that I showed you, we've got that custom chatbot. One of the other ones, like Mason was just saying, is this Dev Central dashboard. So something that would come alongside you in a way and basically share the information to you about kind of what's going on in your dev workflow. And kind of talk about, the repos that you have open, or the endpoints that you're currently hitting, or just evaluating maybe a file that you're currently working on, or just giving you statistics and data from all of the metadata that is stored inside Pieces via Pieces OS, and showing that inside some dashboard that could help you consume and understand the things that you're doing as a developer. And things like that. So there's this Dev Central dashboard. There's something around the Copilot chat in the web UI. So this is just an easy way for people to come in and consume the chatbot, something that we could create and deploy as potentially a web app, and then have it hosted somewhere, and people come in and interact with the Copilot chat without having to download anything, and be able to understand like the powerful tools that can be created, and also see some of the products that you guys are creating as a community. So there are lots of other ideas on here, and feel free, hop in here, make comments, ask questions. Like, let's really get the conversation going and see what we can create together.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I will also update our resources page to have that link as well, because it's super, super important for this community to be discussing those types of ideas. The more people that are actively contributing, the better that this entire experience will become, the faster it will become better. And so, yeah, it's been awesome. You're doing a great job, Jordan. Love
Thanks,
these
man.
chats, and definitely looking forward to the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
See ya.
And yeah, thanks for hopping up here, Mason. And just be sure to the 80% thought and 20% code, right? That's a principle that we follow at Pieces, and being sure to perpetuate that in our discussions around ideas, and in our ideas turning into projects. Like, that's really, really important that we talk through the ins and outs and the whys and the decisions that we make in our development processes that will not only impact ourselves, but people that come to maintain our code later. And we have great resources in each other to have those conversations. So I think it's important that we do so. So that's why I really want to try and help cultivate that with the discussions on GitHub. So yeah, go check those out today, guys, in some of your free time, poke around, come up with your own idea and throw it up on the board and see what we can pick. And hopefully by the next meetup, we'll have voted and selected and kind of had those conversations. So in 2 weeks before kind of winter break starts, we can pick a project as a community. We can find people that specialize in different parts of the dev environment that we'll need. We can plan it out, and we can get things going in an awesome direction for over winter break, and maybe have a cool product by the time we come back next year and really start 2024 off with a bang. So yeah, with that being said, if there are any last thoughts, feel free to leave them in the chat. Everyone, please reach out in the Discord community, in the chat, respond to messages, send your favorite projects, go on to Discord, or go on to GitHub, and find an issue, pick one up, keep an eye out for the new good first issues that are coming soon, and for the SDKs that should be releasing over the next week and a half. So, and the Stoplight documentation. The docs are coming, I swear. Anyways, awesome kickoff meeting. Like Mason said, great having everyone here. And don't forget 80% thought, 20% code. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining Open Source by Pieces, and we'll talk to you soon.